And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
I am a real American.
Good morning, everybody. It's CSAP, your Common Sense American Patriot, with the Common Sense Politics Show. Today, I've got a ton of news articles I want to try to get through. A bunch of news happened yesterday. A bunch of news came out. A lot of things are going on. So I'm going to try to go through it pretty quick because I've got a lot I want to talk about today. So let's get right into it. So the first thing I'm going to get into today is Jeffery Epstein. So the new news that has come out is that he had broken neck bones in his neck, which is more related to strangulation and homicide over hanging. So more questions and less answers so far. So they haven't ruled it out. They're still waiting on more rulings and more findings. So the autopsy, the people who've done the autopsy have not ruled anything yet. They're still pending some investigations. So let's go to the first article that I have pulled up here. And this is a Fox News article. Jeffrey Epstein autopsy reveals broken bones in neck, cause of death pending the report. An autopsy on the body of Jeffrey Epstein revealed the convicted sex offender had several broken bones in his neck, including the hyoid bone. I think that's how you say it. According to a report, the hyoid bone, which is near the Adam's apple, can be broken in a suicide by hanging, so it can happen, especially in older people. He was an older gentleman. I take that back. He was an older pedophile. I don't want to call that man a gentleman by any means. But is more common in strangulation murders, the Washington Post reports. So, more questions, less answers. So they haven't finalized the report, so they won't rule that it's a hanging yet, but they also won't say it was due to murder, so they're just pending their investigation further. Just more questions. So allegedly he had an inmate, but his cellmate left a couple hours before this happened. But allegedly these guards were sleeping on the job for hours, like 3 hours prior to this all happening. So there is a bunch of unanswered questions on how this happened. Who knows? Did the guards knock on his door, open it up, and say it's time? Maybe they weren't sleeping. Maybe they were paid off. Maybe they went in there and strangled him to death. Some of the other hypothesis that I read on another site is that he had bunk beds because he was bunked with somebody else, even though this man should have been on suicide watch all by himself this whole time. This guy was a high-profile guy. None of this should have ever happened to begin with. We shouldn't even be having this conversation. But allegedly they're saying that he could have got up on the top bunk, thrown himself off, and the jerkiness of the hanging could have broken those bones. But I'm sorry, I find that a little bit harder to believe. But again, I find it hard that somebody went in there and choked him to death. But again, this goes back to more questions and less answers. It's just, this should have never, we should not be talking about this. This guy should have been on 24-hour watch. None of this should have ever even happened. The first attempt should have never happened, let alone a second attempt. And so now we have a guy that's a high-profiled pedophile, convicted sexual predator that has all kinds of information, is now dead. Thank God that the DA and William Barr have both said that the investigation of this is going to continue. But I'm still just, I'm not shocked. But why did it take the FBI a full month after he was arrested to raid the alleged island where all these sick things were going on? Who knows? More questions, less answers. So moving on to the next article here from TMZ. So TMZ came out and broke today. Jeffrey Epstein's blood vessels in his eyes popped when his air supply was cut off by the bed sheet that was wrapped around his neck. This, according to law enforcement sources briefed on the case. We are told he suffered Patriot, I have no idea. You can read that one on your own. Some kind of hemorrhage caused when someone hangs himself or is strangulated or smothered, but authorities are confident this was a hanging. Okay, I want to go back to the authorities were confident this was a hanging. Like, this should be 100%. They walked in and they've got pictures of him or or they have eyewitness accounts that he hung himself. So how are they confident? Like, wouldn't you walk in there and the guy has the bed sheet wrapped around his neck 5 times and he's, hung? How is it they're confident? Like, did they walk in there and the sheet wasn't around his neck, but we think he hung himself? What is going on? That's, again, more questions, less answers. This thing is just getting ridiculous. Like, what is going on? Why can we, and that's the frustrating, that's why a lot of people don't trust the government. Why can we not get answers? Why does it always have to be this convoluted mess? It's so frustrating. So let's go back to TMZ. We are told the bed sheets were tied to the top bunk of the bed, and Epstein either hurled himself off the top bunk or had his feet to the ground and leaned forward to cut off his air supply. Authorities believe the former is true because throwing himself off the top bunk and falling violently to the ground could explain the hyoid bone being fractured. How do you guys not know what is going on here? It's again, this just blows my mind. I'm just boggled that we're even talking about this. This should have never even been a topic of discussion. This guy, high profile guy that has again, I go back to my previous episodes. They were able to arrest this man. They found enough damning evidence in the one search warrant, and he has multiple properties. New Mexico, he has the one in New York, he has his pedophile island, he has multiple other properties, and they only raided one property, and they had enough damning evidence to not give this man bail, to lock him up, throw him away, no bail. So the judge knows what kind of evidence there was, and no bail. You get 0 bail. So obviously the evidence was pretty damn incriminating on this man, and they don't raid any of the other properties. It takes them over a month, and after he commits suicide to get to the island. I'm just another fed up, common sense citizen that's frustrated with our government. This is why we need smaller government. This is why we need to not vote Democrats in. We need to vote Republican, conservative, smaller government, less government. I'm just, between the FBI and this whole Russian collusion garbage, now he was in federal custody and this guy was able to kill himself. More questions keep arising, more than answers. Nobody trusts the government. I don't trust the government. This is why I want less government, more freedom, less. You want to talk about socialism? That's where the whole government takes over the entire country. Look at how boggled up everything is right now. And the Democrats want to vote in democratic socialism and give the government more control and more power? Hell no. Absolutely not. No way, no how. Please, everybody, talk to your family, friends. Let them know what's going on. We need to vote in more conservatives, more libertarian-leaning conservatives, and less government. We need much, much less government. We need government to shrink. We need our debt to shrink. We need to stop spending money. Less government, more freedom. Let people stand up on their own 2 feet and stop having the government come and coddle everybody. Less government, more freedom, and we need to get rid of this FBI, revamp the FBI, DOJ. I don't know what needs to happen, but this is just it's amazing. You want the federal government to take care of you? Go to the DMV. How fun is that? Oh, you're a high profile guy and you're supposed to be watched 24/7 and you're able to kill yourself in jail after a first attempt. Government is not the answer, people. It's not the answer. You can't trust them. Can't believe in them. That's why I voted for Trump, because Trump was he's not an establishment guy. That's why I voted for him, and I wanted him to win. And look at the stink that he's created, because less government is good, and the government does not want to get smaller. It wants to grow, and that's what the Democrats want to do. So choose wisely here coming in 2020. It could really make a difference in your lives. But for me, I don't want more government. As you can see from just this Jeffrey Epstein debacle, government is not good. Moving on to the next story I want to get into. So yesterday I talked a little bit about, everybody was screaming and ranting and raving about, we're going into a recession. We're going into a recession. We are not going into a recession. From all the points, all the other indicators, just one indicator is showing that we may be going into a recession due to the yield curve or some goofy analysis. But there's a lot of things that go into that. Like I talked yesterday on yesterday's episode, the last crash, you could see it. The writing was on the wall. The housing prices were just absolutely took off. People were taking out the most outlandish loans. It was just silly. Right now, there's no crazy signs that are doing that. Yeah, the stock market is growing, but that's because the economy is growing. We're doing better trade deals. A lot of things are doing good. So the market has been going up and up and up and up, and it's been going up at a very high rate of speed, which I'm happy. That means my retirement's growing. Everybody else's retirement's growing. And again, like I said yesterday, any Democrat left-leaning loony like Bill Mayer out there saying they want a recession just so we can throw Trump out of the office. Do you know how many millions of Americans are finally up on their own 2 feet and living well? And you want to take that away from them? Of course, it's easy for you to say that because you have a nice multi-million-dollar job. You've got a bunch of money in the bank account. Guess what? The middle-class working Americans like me don't have a ton of money sitting in my bank. I live fairly well, but I've worked my ass off to get there, and so has my wife, and so has everybody else in my family. But all my friends that I know, we're not multi-millionaires. We're surviving. We're living good because we've worked hard to get where we're at, but we don't have any means. Let me tell you, if the stock in the whole recession hits, we're all going to get hit. It's going to hurt us massively. Are we going to be out on the street? No, but it is going to affect us massively. So for every person out there that is hoping for a recession, you are a disgusting individual hoping that millions of Americans lose their retirement, lose their pensions, lose all their savings they ever had, maybe their jobs, and you're talking about millions of people could end up homeless. You're a disgusting individual. You should be hoping the economy keeps growing like it is. America, Americans, you guys all want to talk about open borders. Guess what happens when the economy crashes? You think we're really going to be in the position to help these other countries and these other migrants? You better start thinking. That's the common sense right there. We can't help all these other countries if we go into a recession. We can't even help ourselves. So you guys wish for one thing and wish for another, and they don't even match. That's the silly thing. Like, your brains don't match. Silly liberals. You guys really, it's just sad that you guys can't really set aside your absolute hate for Trump. Yes, he's a little vulgar. He can be a little rough around the edges, but there's a reason why he does that. But you guys can't get your head around, oh, I just absolutely hate Trump, and you're wishing millions of Americans ill will because you hate Trump. Does that make sense? You guys liberals, especially you far leftists, you make me sick. So sick to my stomach. So, a couple articles now that I went on that rant. So, Dow plummeted 800 points yesterday on worsening global recession fears. Listen, global. I don't care about the global. I care about America. I care about what's going on here. So, we did take a little bit of a dive yesterday. But that happens as stocks go up and down. It's happened all year. And we may be in a little bit of a correction area. But let me show you. So here we are right now today. The Dow is up. The Dow is up right now 75 points. So yeah, we plummeted 800, but we're back up 75 points. So let's go for a full year to date. Let's go here. Let's do a full year. Look, we've had major crashes in the past year. I don't remember back in January anybody calling for a recession, or I'm sure the libs were, but look, there's corrections all through the year here. Down, up, down, up. That's what the market does. Down, up, down, up, down, up. It does not mean just because we had a dive yesterday, and it did. The Dow dived yesterday. But it doesn't mean we're going into a recession. China just came out today and said that they're going to soften their position on the trade in the trade wars because they don't want to get into that. And they can't keep on with theirs because, yes, their economy is getting affected much more than ours based on these trade wars because China has been ripping us off and the rest of the world off for all these years. So we're finally countering those measures, and they are hurting worse than we are. Like I talked about in my yesterday's show. I don't like the tariffs. I don't want to do them, but I understand why. You can't be picked on and picked on and picked on and bullied and bullied and bullied. You finally have to stand up to the bully. That's what Trump has done. Trump has stood up to the bully, and China is not going to rip us off anymore. They're hurting too. I don't believe we are going into a recession. So everybody get those fears out of your mind. In 2007, whoever was old enough and around for the 2007, everybody knows the writing was like on the wall. People were taking out these ridiculous loans, 0 interest until 2 years down the road. And then it turns into this bubble where it's like 24%. And then their mortgage goes from like $1,000 to $3,000. It was insane. I'm telling you, it was crazy. The writing was on the wall. Back in 2007, there was a lot of factors, not just one little thing. This is all just, listen, the mainstream media is going to scream bloody murder, recession, 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 because they want to scare you, just like they do with all the polls. They want to scare you into we're going into a recession and make you get afraid and pull your money out of stocks and do different things. They're trying to create a crash, essentially, because they are going to pull out all the stops to make Donald Trump look as bad as he can going into the 2020 election. So Russia failed. Now they've had all these different things that they're throwing. I mean, it's like throwing poop on a wall and hoping what sticks. I try to keep it family friendly, so that's why I don't say the other one. But we're not going into a recession. The Democrats and the mainstream media are screaming bloody murder for a recession. That's what they want. Look at that sick mentality. They want millions, and I am talking millions of Americans, to lose everything they have just so they can get an advantage against Trump going into 2020. What kind of disgusting thought is that? Anybody out there that's in the middle and leaves left, tell me, please tell me. Leave a comment down there on my YouTube channel or leave a comment on my Facebook page. Tell me, how does that make sense? How is that? There's no logic to that. That is an evil thought. Let's have millions of Americans lose everything they have in this growing economy, because when recessions hit, they hit hard. You're going to have you think homeless is bad right now? If we had a full-blown recession like we did in 2017 or 2007, the homeless is going to be exponentially worse. Millions of people are going to be out there on the streets. And that's what you hope for, just to get an advantage on Trump, just so you can blame, oh, look, big bad Trump, he ruined the economy. I didn't blame Obama for the economy. Some of his policies did help affect it. But at the end of the day, it was the housing. That whole housing market is what caused the 2007. But I don't wish that crash so I can get a better advantage. So maybe Mitt Romney could win. That's insane. Like, I don't wish millions of Americans ill will. I talk about that all the time. America first. I want to take care of Americans. I want everybody to succeed, have a nice house, have a nice job, have nice things. So going into that, I'm actually going to skip the next story and move into this next one. Ben Shapiro here. I'm just going to play the video for you, and I'm going to explain it. It goes into what I'm just talking about right now. So let's go into the full screen mode here and listen to Ben Shapiro.
Well, the fact is that if you had to work more than one job to have a roof over your head or food on the table, you probably shouldn't have taken the job that's not paying you enough. That'd be a you problem.
Okay. Ben Shapiro there. Boy, where do I start? Where do I start with that? So he's talking about all these millions of Americans that work 2 jobs. You shouldn't have taken the job that doesn't pay enough. That's a you problem. These people are trying to get by to put food on their plate. You have the audacity to even bring this up, that millions of Americans are working 2 jobs and they shouldn't have taken. That's a you problem. Listen, Ben. My wife actually works 2 jobs right now. She actually works 3, but she's going to be leaving one. But she works 2 jobs. It's not very cheap to live here in America. I would consider this a second job for me, and I don't make a dime on it. I lose money. But maybe somewhere in the future I can make a few dollars. That's not my goal. I just enjoy this as a hobby. But the amount of work I put into this is probably, I would definitely consider this a second job. I work full-time, so my wife works full-time. Maybe I shouldn't have taken this job. You're telling me when you were getting your podcast and your Ben Shapiro, your label out there, your name recognition out there, you're telling me when you were first starting out and probably getting pennies for what you do, that you wouldn't consider that a second job? You weren't working anything else? I know you married a doctor, so I know you had a lot of money. I know you had rich parents, so maybe you didn't. But to have the audacity to talk about, oh, you shouldn't have taken that second job, it didn't pay enough. Maybe that's all they can get. Maybe if they didn't take a second job right away, they'd lose their house. I don't know. I'm just appalled that you would say that. I'm disgusted. I'm I'm putting it out there. I've never really been a Ben Shapiro fan. He was kind of an anti-Trumper. He debates very well. Yeah, he makes the guy from the Young Turks, I forget that Chunk or Sink or whatever that guy's name is. Yeah, he destroys them in debates. He's a great debater. He's a smart guy. I'm not taking anything away from him. But this guy's always been an anti-Trumper. And then this makes him just how he is, like an elitist. Like, he's essentially like a conservative elitist. Like, oh, it's a you problem because you're working 2 jobs. No, asshole. Maybe we needed to work 2 jobs to get by. People are putting food on their plate. At least they're out there working instead of collecting benefits. Is that what you would rather them do, Ben? Would you rather them go out there and collect benefits, collect welfare, instead of actually doing the right thing, getting a second job? So I've had a lot of people go, well, what was wrong with that? That's what's wrong with it. That one really, really irked me. Because there's a lot of hardworking Americans out there that are actually busting their ass, working 2 jobs to provide for their family instead of collecting the government dole. Is that what you want, Ben? You want all these people to go on welfare so then they don't have to pick up that second job? So then it's not a you problem? That's why that comment really irritated me. And I hope you guys understand. That is just a silly comment for him to make that, oh, it's a you problem if you picked up a second job like that. No, Ben, people are trying to do the right thing and work and provide for their family. Sometimes they don't have great jobs that pay great money. I don't have enough name recognition to go and ask $50,000 for speaker fees to go speak at a college. It would be nice, but I don't have that. My wife doesn't have that. So we're working class Americans. We both have bachelor's degrees. We're both educated people, and we're working multiple jobs because we're trying to survive here in California where it's not cheap to live. So take your elitist. Like I said, that's me. I've never really liked Ben Shapiro. You're a smart guy. You have a lot of good things to say, but that's just you make me sick. You remind me of the Rhino Republicans. You're too good for everybody else. You're forgetting the middle class there, Ben. We all work. We're hardworking Americans. That's what we all do. We work. So a little tangent there, but I just had to get into that, and that goes back to the recession. If we do go into recession, millions of Americans are going to lose everything they've worked for, and maybe 2 jobs, Ben Shapiro. But that's where we're at. So I hope we don't have a recession. I don't think we are. I think we're going to do good. And Ben Shapiro is an elitist anti-Trumper. That's my opinion, and you guys can have your own. I'm not saying don't listen to him. He has a lot of good things. I'm not trying to knock his show or take anything away from him, but he's an elitist. It's just disgusting. It's people are trying to work and do the right thing, and he's going to knock them for that. I just find that appalling. Anybody out there working 2 jobs and you're doing everything you can to provide for your family, and you are not on the government dole collecting welfare and food stamps and doing everything you can to provide for your family, man, I tip my hat to you. Thank you. You are a hardworking American. You are an example for every other American out there not to give up, to keep working hard for your family. Hard work pays off. And I salute you. Thank you for working 2 jobs. I hope you don't have to work 2 jobs in the future. I hope things pan out for you where you don't. That's what you should be saying, Ben, not that's a you problem for working 2 jobs. So off on my tangent. So the next story. I'm so sick of the anti-police rhetoric. 6 police officers were shot in Philadelphia yesterday. It makes me sick. So here we go in the news article here. This is from CBS Philly, so the Philadelphia. In this part right here. Crowd taunts Philadelphia police officers, laugh at them in midst of gunfire during the standoff in Nicetown, Tioga. I've seen the video. I don't know if it's actually on here because I kind of got to this article late. I didn't know if I was going to have enough time. But there is videos out there of officers. Their brothers in blue have been shot. And they're trying to get to the area, and they are being taunted and abused by the crowd, trying to get to their people that have been shot. This is absolutely disgusting. You know what the police should do? Just like everybody the other day was, I think it was Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, and a couple others were out there glorifying Michael Brown's death. That, again, this great citizen was shot and killed by this evil white officer, when that was debunked all the way, and they're still bringing that up. I'm sorry, man, I tip my hat to every officer out there. I love you guys. You guys, you put your lives on the line. I mean, just the CHP officer that was murdered the other day in cold blood. Now, these officers that were ambushed and attacked, There's still not a lot of details on how this all went down. But for a crowd, they're trying to go save their brothers that are being shot and killed. Well, luckily nobody was killed, but being shot. They don't know that they're dead yet or not. And the crowd is taunting them and not letting him in there. We are going to be in real trouble here. And especially you Democratic towns. I wouldn't be surprised if one day, here coming soon, that these police officers go, screw this. This is not for me. I'm out of here. Here's your badge. I'm out. What are your Democrat cities going to look like? You guys all hate the police now. Wait until they say, we're done. We ain't going into these cities no more. You guys police yourselves. Do you know what kind of anarchy is going to go on in these places if these officers don't feel like putting their lives on the line 24/7 just to be taunted by these crowds? It's disgusting. So back to the article here. The reporter here, she even says, on her Twitter, I mentioned this at 10, and since I was harassed during that live shot, I'll mention it here too. A major moment of disappointment this evening was watching a crowd of people taunt police officers, laughing and yelling at them in the midst of the gunfire at the Philadelphia shooting. So that's even a news reporter confirming exactly what's going on. There's a video out there. I wasn't able to get it in time for this video for the podcast, but just look on social media. It's kind of out there everywhere. They were harassing the police officers trying to get there. So, first and foremost, my heart goes out to all the police officers that were shot. My heart goes out to every police officer out here in America that puts their lives on the line. And for all the anti-police rhetoric that goes on, your job is, man, I can't even imagine the immense pressure you guys are under every single day. I want you to know that I appreciate your service. Every time I see a police officer, I thank them for their service. I have a blue ribbon still out on my tree in the front of my house because I respect the police. I want them to know that I am there. Hopefully, if they ever drive by in my neighborhood and just see that blue ribbon and an American flag outside, that they know at least one citizen in this town appreciates their service. And I do, because they don't get enough of that. They sure don't get enough of that. So I want to put it out there. Thank you. Thank you for your service. And my condolences again. I'm getting tired of coming on every single day and having to say my condolences to the families of all these brave men that are out there policing these streets, that they aren't wanted. Well, they're not wanted until they're called. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, Trump's backing you guys 100%. Man, if Hillary actually won the election, I would be absolutely terrified for you guys where you guys are at right now, especially in this country and the anti-police rhetoric. So hopefully this changes, and it changes quick. We need to change what's going on. And I brought it up in many other shows so far. We need to change our American culture. We need to get mental illness checked. We need to get more religion back into this country. I'm sorry. Those are the three main things that are deteriorating our country. Our family values are gone. The divorce rate is high. The single mother rate is at like 44% in this nation. We need to bring the family element back together. Children need to be raised by their mothers and their fathers, not just a single mother trying to work and make it done, and they're with aunties and uncles and babysitters and all these different things. We need family values back in this country. Marriage is not easy. I've been married going on 12 years. It's not easy. There's ups and downs. I know my wife was sick of me more than once. I've been sick of my wife more than once. But we have continued to work on it through the 12 years. It's a progression. It's not easy, but we never gave up. We've worked on it. We've worked on it hard. We continue to work on it. And I think I'm in the happiest place I've ever been in my marriage. And this is after 12 years of marriage, because we continue to work on it. We continue to respect each other and learn from each other and learn from our mistakes. I've made many mistakes. I'm not a perfect person. I've sinned many of times. My wife's not a perfect person, but we try to at least keep working on. We make a mistake and we fix it. It's not easy, but for the family, for our culture, for our American values, we need to bring that back. We need to get more. We need to get religious again. We need to bring God back into our lives. I need to get back into church more. I used to go to church a lot when I was a kid, but then I went to college and I got a little indoctrinated on science and how is this true and how is that true. I need to get back into church more myself. And how can I preach religious views and that's what this country was founded on if I'm not practicing it myself? So I am going back to church, and I need to practice what I preach. But that's part of me. I can tell that I need to have more religious values in my life and do the right thing. I try to live as the best human I can, but I can improve. And that's one thing I need to improve on, is going back to church. And then mental illness in this country, I've mentioned it many, many times. I think that's one of the things that we have let go in this country. Nobody wants to talk about the mental illness in this country, and we do. We need more mental illness facilities, more mental help. People need help. It's not an easy world. We need help, especially all our veterans out there with PTSD. They've been in wars for 10 years. We need to help our veterans out. We need more mental health in this country. That's all I got for you guys today. So, Ben Shapiro, yeah, you really ticked me off, as you guys can see. But that's what irritates me. I want everybody to be hardworking Americans. I want everybody to succeed. I don't want the economy to crash. So that's where I'm at, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate it all. Leave any comments down on my YouTube channel. Subscribe, share, like my live videos, share my live videos. My podcast, I should be on iTunes now. I'm going to double check today. I'm on Spotify. And if you like what I'm doing and you want to help me out, I'm trying to upgrade equipment. Throw me a bone on Patreon. Go to Patreon/CSAP, and you can get some exclusive content there and help me out. So, appreciate it, guys. Thank you. I love you guys, and I love this country. I'll talk to you tomorrow.